Welcome. My name is Bobby Cochran, and this is the story of the Portland Renter First Response Hub. This isn't just another academic project. It's about people being bounced around from hotline to website to form when they're facing eviction. The lines on this dark canvas hint at the maze we're about to navigate and at the connections we're going to build. Imagine you're a renter in Portland. You get an eviction notice, and suddenly you need to find help, legal aid, rental assistance, a translator, and none of these services live in the same place. That's what I mean by fragmented support. We're also talking about burden. Half of Portland renters spend more than they can afford on rent, and a quarter are severely burdened. When money is tight and time is short, every phone call and every confusing form feels like climbing a hill with rocks in your shoes. That's our starting point. So how do we fix it? Here's the question I posed. How can Portland's renter support ecosystem deliver fast, multilingual, legally accurate first response information during an eviction crisis? The catch is that no single discipline has the full answer. Sociology tells us who's at risk. Public policy shows us how programs get delivered. Legal studies draw the boundaries between information and advice. Communication studies focus on clarity and translation. Technology design brings it all into a tool. Only by weaving these together can we make something useful. Let's unpack those perspectives. Sociology digs into poverty, race, family, and networks. It explains who faces eviction and why, but often stops short of designing workflows. Public policy obsesses over eligibility rules and administrative burden. It's good at systems, but can miss fairness. Legal studies are about rights and deadlines. They protect people, but they're cautious, which can slow things down. Communication asks how people find and use information, from plain language to usability testing. It can, however, assume clarity fixes everything. Technology wonders if a tool can help with routing, language access, and privacy. It risks masking deeper inequities by making a slick interface. Being aware of each bias helps us blend their strengths. These disciplines don't always play nicely. Sociology and policy think in systems. Law fights case by case. Communication wants to guide. Law worries about unauthorized advice. And sometimes the people who explain why something happens aren't the ones building a fix. So what's our common ground? First, bounded actionability. We provide safe, source-based next steps without wandering into legal advice. Second, crisis time burden. We design for the learning curve and anxiety renters face when the clock is ticking. Third, causal sequence. We map the chain of events from notice to resolution, so social, administrative, legal, communication, and technical pieces line up. Out of that common ground comes the hub. It isn't just a chatbot, it's a first response pathway with a brain and a backbone. It starts with intake. What happened? What document? What date? What language? What county? Then issue identification. It summarizes the problem and flags urgency. Next, it offers source-based next steps and resources tailored to that issue. If the situation is high risk, say an imminent lockout, it escalates to a real person, a legal aid attorney, or a trained advocate. Finally, there's governance, human review, source control, privacy safeguards. Think of it as a guided triage station, connecting renters to help before time runs out. How would this work in practice? Step 1, renter-centered intake. Collect only what's necessary. Document type, date, language, county, urgent issues. Step 2, issue summary. Distill what's going on and flag any deadlines. Step 3, next steps. Provide plain language instructions and links in multiple languages in a mobile-friendly way. Step 4, collect minimal data and offer offline options like a phone hotline or printed guides, because not everyone has internet. Step 5, route high-risk cases to legal aid. On top of that, we design safeguards. Align with agency funding rules, keep legal boundaries clear, audit our answers, review translations, and protect privacy. This isn't about building a shiny app. It's about fitting into the real world. What do we gain? First, we reduce learning burdens. Instead of a scavenger hunt across websites, renters get guided intake and plain language responses. Second, we lower psychological costs. Being heard by a system that quickly triages your case calms a chaotic moment. Third, referrals improve. High-risk cases reach legal aid with better information, which means less misdirection and wasted time. Fourth, collaboration gets stronger. Agencies and nonprofits can coordinate updates, standardize intake, and identify recurring gaps. And maybe most important, renters feel empowered. They understand that confusion is a design problem, not a personal failing. This isn't magic. The hub doesn't create more housing, rental assistance, lawyers, or policy reforms. It depends on funding, staff cooperation, and legal review. If translations or legal information go stale, people get hurt. There's the digital divide. Not everyone has a smartphone or data plan. And without governance, the platform could age into irrelevance. To mitigate those, we restrict knowledge sources to Oregon landlord-tenant law, official forums, and vetted resources. We timestamp our answers and show our sources. We require human review for high-risk topics. We keep audit logs and test accuracy. We collect only minimal data and offer anonymous browsing and offline access. It's about doing what's feasible while being honest about what isn't. How will we know if the hub works? We'll measure the time it takes users to identify next steps and deadlines, the percentage of people who recognize urgency, and the number of completed referrals to legal aid and rental assistance. We'll watch session abandon rates, track comprehension across languages, and audit accuracy. We'll ask users whether they trust the system and feel satisfied. The conclusion is simple. Portland renters facing eviction need a first response pathway that is findable, usable, and connected to human help before time runs out. By integrating sociology, policy, law, communication, and technology, the hub becomes a bridge, not just another resource list. It doesn't replace lawyers or activists. It brings renters to them sooner. And that is how we turn confusion into action.